guys, Scooch here. Welcome to my channel. I'm going to show you a video today on the best, or what I personally think the best melee constructor build. Now we know that there's two heroes that mainly work with melee weapons, but to be honest with you, I'm just not a fan of the ninja. I just feel like they're squishy, and that's just my opinion. I'm sure people rock it and people know how to do it. There's things like Harvester Sarah, stuff like that. But today I'm going to be showing you about Steel Wool Sid. The thing about Steel Wool Sid, he wasn't even around until they updated the Canny Valley quest line. Now for a long time, a lot of avid players, especially when you started out back in the day, there wasn't any quest line. There wasn't even any quest line for Plankerton. Now there's a quest line for Canny Valley, but only part 1. I'm sure they're coming out with part 2 because they said they were. So we can only suspect that there will be more rewards from the part 2 Canny Valley quest line. But as for now, this can be earned through going Canny Valley quest line part 1. He is a mythic, which is always fun, but some mythics don't really work out, do they? But let's take a look at what we're going to do here. We're going to make a melee build, a strictly hammer melee build. Now I'm going to show you why that's important with Steel Wool Sid. Let's go ahead and see. Increase build speed by 10%, no big deal. We got all that. Creative engineering, no big deal. Kinetic overload, everyone has kinetic overload. But that's going to be more important later on down the road of why he's such an OP. Here we go. Lightweight. Perk number 5. Increase hardware attack speed by 24%. Okay, more speed of swinging the hammer means more hits, right? No big deal. Hammer critical chance means you're going to be doing hammer critical rating by 18%. That means the more time you swing, the higher the chance that some of those swings are just going to do critical damage. Now that's why I wanted you to realize on the kinetic overload, it says you do 70k energy damage. Damage type is considered plasma as well as energy. Critical hits with the hardware melee weapons trigger a kinetic overload, dealing additional damage. So that means every time you critical hit, you're triggering kinetic overload, which goes down to hammer critical chance. That's why it's there, and that's why it's important to us. Decoy, great. You're out there in the field, you're swinging and winging, you got to put down a decoy. They're just going to eat you up. But the software, this is where we're going crazy a little bit with this whole melee thing. Increase hardware heavy attack energy efficiency by 150%. Now, some hammers have pretty weak heavy attacks. Some have really good ones, and we'll get into that a little later on. But as for right now, that's a decent skill to have. No big deal. Here's the last two that really matter. Kinetic overdrive. When kinetic overload is triggered, it affects targets within a 0.5 tile radius of the primary target. Now, half a tile, no big deal. That's not that like crazy, but remember, everything's going to be coming at you. They're going to be swarming you. It's going to be a crowd around you, which means that when you're swinging this hammer, you're increasing your critical chance with that hammer to do a kinetic overload hit. Now, kinetic overload hit will trigger, and now it's going to affect everyone around it. Even if you hit one enemy, a husk, a husky husk, a smasher, everything that's around you is going to be affected because they're so close to you. It's going to be affected by the kinetic overdrive. The last one, maximum overload. Increased damage of kinetic overload, by 110%. That is dramatic because looking at kinetic overload, boom, 70k. I mean, I'm not going to do the numbers for you, but you can do the math on your own. So let's look at what we should have in our tags. Now, I found this to be the best, and this is why I'm building this way. These are both characters you can earn. These are not event heroes. You can earn these characters flat out, or you can purchase them from the collection book, whatever you're choosing. I wouldn't recommend the collection book, but I would rather recommend that you flux them. Fluxing's cheaper. You can earn the gold very easy. I wouldn't recommend wasting any training manuals, because when you get higher up in the game, those training manuals really become a very important part of the game. Let's take a look at our first one, Striker AC. Now, I recommend you have this guy just for farming in general. I feel like he's the best farming Outlander there is out there, but that's a whole different story. Let's look at his support squad bonus. Punchy. Increase blunt weapon damage and impact by 12%. That's adding so much, and it doesn't seem like a lot, but the hammers you use are all impact. That's what hammers are, just straight hitting them. They're not causing bleed damage, nothing like that. It's straight impact. That is going to add to your impact when you're swinging on your kinetic overload. Here we go. Vanguard Southie. A decent Outlander. I wouldn't run him by myself, but that's just me personally. But look at his tactical squad bonus. Melee critical hits do increased impact and add 1.5 seconds of stun when the enemy is interrupted. Now, going back, if you just got to put it all together, you're going to be doing kinetic overload. You have a higher with him. You have a higher chance of doing critical damage, critical hits. Every time you get a critical hit, let alone are you triggering kinetic overload, you're doing increased impact on top of the impact of Punchy over here, plus a 1.5 seconds of stun. That means every enemy in the area around you is just going to be stunned, no longer attacking you, no longer hitting you, and you're able to just go to town, just out there swinging. So I'm going to go ahead and show you this in action. And you know, I prefer to show you what hammer I'm going to be using. We can always get into that a little later on. Let's go ahead and find it in the schematics. My favorite is the Walloper. Now, going over the Walloper, let's go ahead and upgrade and inspect this mo right here. Look at the impact already. That's why I love the Walloper. The impact is just a monster. Now, I know it's 130. I can't really take it down to show you what it would be if you can't get it to 130. But at the end of the day, you're looking for end game materials anyways. And what I hate about this game sometimes is you end up upgrading something. You love it how it's at 80, like power level 82. Then you love it at 106, but then somehow when you take it to that 130, you start to fall off a little bit. You're fighting, you know, power level 100 enemies, or even doing a 4-player mission, which is the highest mission in the game. 118 power level enemies, you really start to feel the effects of not being powerful anymore. Let's go ahead and look at what I put on it. I made it obsidian, and which turns into bright core. Now a lot of people would be like, why did you do that? You lost damage per second. But one thing that people don't notice sometimes is with melee weapons, your attack speed increases when you go to obsidian. When you go to shadow shard, you end up losing attack speed, and which is, to be honest, if you're going to be using a melee weapon, don't you want to swing it faster just so you can get more hits, which means more critical? It makes sense to me, at least. Let's go down the perks here. I put another 30% attack speed on it. I love attack speed. I feel like, just like I said, more speed, more hits, more damage. Critical rating, plus 30. Now that's going to stack with the 18 critical rating that Steel Wool Sid already has. That's a total of 48 critical rating, which, as we know, is critical chance. How many times are you going to hit with a critical? Now you want a critical more often because of the kinetic overload. Elemental physical, I would never change the element to any energy or fire, because then you become more specific, and this is a one-time off. You don't get Wallopers all the time. You only get one Walloper, and you got to make it work. The 23% damage resistance is because you're out there, you're doing a melee weapon, everyone's going to be around you, and everyone's going to be hitting you. Just makes sense to me. 45% damage to slowed and snared targets. Now, as we know with the new perk system, every weapon comes with its 6th and final permanent perk. You cannot change that. I would always recommend to anyone, unless it's a headshot perk or something weird like that, to always stack the 5th and 6th together. It makes sense. I mean, look, every time I'm hitting them, my 6th perk is damage dealt with this weapon, snares the target for 30 seconds. For 30%, excuse me, for 6 seconds. I would want that to stack with my 45% damage, so that's a total of 75% damage for 6 seconds to any target that I'm hitting. Also slowing them down, which means they're slowing their attack speed, they're slowing their walking, blah blah blah. So let's go ahead and take this hammer out. I'm going to go ahead and show you. Alright, here we go. Let's get this hammer going. Let's find some helpless victims. Here they are. Level 100. Here's that R2 smash. This is one of those things that you just gotta, you love it. You just gotta love it. Look at the area I cover, just going right into battle. I come flying in like just a crazy hulkish figure, beating these people with no mercy. Anything you want to do with zombies, you just want to beat them. No mercy. No mercy for zombies here. Here, let this guy throw it. Boom. Just hit it right back at him. That's the hammer. This is what she's all about. Let's find an encampment. Let's go kill these fools here real quick. Let's find ourselves an encampment. Let's get on our board. Where's that light in the sky? There it is. Now, the thing about them being level 100, of course they're gonna hurt you. You're not invincible, but you have so many ways to leave. You have a bull rush, you can get out of there. You have the R2 to get out of there. You have a decoy. There's methods you could use, easily methods you could use. Let's get this going. Here we go. Encampment, started off the right way, of course. Boom. Give them a little taste. Here we go. First thing I want to do, place a thing. Place a decoy. Look at that, you just 2-3 hits. They're just getting completely whacked. Now I am taking more damage than I should be, but that's because of the modifiers of the mission. The pools are acid. They're not liking it. Oh, cowboy? Eat it, cowboy. See, one and done. And that was the first encampment of a level 100. Now let's take it a little step farther here. Where is that? You know, that's one of the things I cannot stand. Finding the light in the sky. You know, since this has been around for a long time, I don't feel like they would ever patch this. Thank you. You know, I don't like good things that get patched, even though it might be close to game breaking, because I feel like that's what this is, close to game breaking. But this is they just walk into their death. You know, place a decoy. Let's get around this guy. Beat him up. I don't like those shielders. Let's get rid of them. I know you can't see because of the old foggy, but it's literally just a sickening damage you're doing to them. Swing fest, swing fest, swing fest. And, you know, ammo is one thing. You know, you can go farm nuts and bolts, you can farm metal all day long. But one thing I can't stand doing is just running out of ammo. It's just such a painful thing. But guess what? When you run out of ammo, you gotta have that backup. You gotta have that backup because the melee. You know, that's what the melees are for, to not use any ammo. And I feel like this is just a beautiful melee for a constructor. His base, now the negatives of this, his base is just not going to be all that strong as far as how many tiles you can increase, but it'll cover a pyramid, it'll cover a single atlas. You know, at least you can contribute some to that. You can put your base down, get a little groove on an atlas. Everything should be okay. Everyone else can maybe cover an atlas. So that's not the worst. That's not the worst thing about it. But yeah, I mean, geez, I mean, let's go find a smasher. I say we go find a smasher, and we show him what it's really like to smash. Come up behind this guy. Bingo, bongo. Oh, bango. That's right. Let's get on the board. Let's get on the board and find a real enemy. An enemy that just, at level 100, is a pest, which would be the Smasher. I think I found a Smasher, guys. Here we go. It's gonna be a straight face-off. I love how he's in a dungeon too. Just a straight out. There he is. Let's go down there and greet him. I'm gonna show you what this looks like against a Smasher. He's nothing. A nobody compared to the Walloper. Well, I guess we gotta find him first off, huh? Oh, peekaboo. Yeah, you can't hit me. Let's look at that. Just it's kind of a weird shot, beating him in the butt, but gets the job done. There. Once he turns around, I'll critical. Oh, there you go. Look at that. Critical, critical, stagger, stagger, stagger. He's toast. Just complete toast. And this is what I like about it. It's just a tank build. If you got to put yourself out there and distract some of the enemies, they're gonna go for you. They're gonna go for your decoy. Especially if like a base just got blown up or opened up and your buddy's got to repair it. It's perfect. But there it is, guys. You know, I want to say once again, thanks for watching the video, and if you could, hit a like, hit a subscribe, and please, any comments below, tell me what you think. Tell me if you think there is another hammer that can compete with the Walloper, or another constructor that is better with a hammer. Alright, guys, thanks again.